Okay, so today we're going to be doing a bit of physical chemistry, just to switch up a bit instead of organic chemistry. So, quick story time. I actually already recorded this entire video and realized the fact that I wasn't screen recording. So, this is my second take. And as I'm saying this right now, I just realized the fact that I'm still not screen recording. So, I just turned it on right now. So, what we're going to talk about is the different extents to which iodine can react with sulfuric acid. So we have these four different reactions. The exam board expects you to memorize these, however, I think that's quite dull. So I'm going to teach you a way how to use half equations to be able to derive these different equations or reactions. So the first one you should memorize, it's pretty straightforward. It's just H2SO4, so sulfuric acid, plus sodium iodide, making hydrogen iodide and sodium sulfate. Pretty straightforward, right? The next thing you want to memorize is the fact that in one reaction, sulfur dioxide is produced, in another reaction, sulfur is produced, and in our third and final reaction, as in the third extent, hydrogen sulfide is produced. So one more thing we also want to know are the observations seen in each reaction. So in this reaction, a choking gas of sulfur dioxide. In this reaction, a yellow solid of sulfur. And over here, hydrogen sulfide, which will produce a kind of bad egg-like smell, I would say. So let's get straight into it. What we're going to do is write down the reduction. So we're going to say I minus. So before I do this, in all these reactions we can see we have iodine being produced, we have water being produced, and we have hydrogen iodide reacting with sulfuric acid. So because of this, we know that we have iodide ions turning into iodine. So what we can do, we can say I minus arrow I2 plus E minus. However, one thing is the fact that we don't have our charges balanced. So we're going to write down, sorry, not charges, our iodines balanced. So we're going to write down 2I minus, but now we've got an unbalanced charge, as I was saying before. So what we're going to do, we're going to stick a 2 in front of this E minus to make it 2 minus over here and 2 minus over here. So that's our first half. Our second half is sulfuric acid. And as you should memorize, the first extent to which it's of the reaction is sulfur dioxide. So in these half equations, we want to balance out the oxygens by placing a 2H2O here. We're going to balance out the hydrogens because there's 4 over here and 2 over here by doing 2H plus. Now we're going to balance out the charges because there's 2 plus over here and 0 over here by adding 2E minus. So now what we can do, we want to combine these two equations. So what we'll do H2SO4 plus 2H plus 2I minus plus 2E minus, arrow sulfur dioxide, water, our 2 electrons. So what happens is that the electrons actually cancel out, and these two over here combine, because imagine positive, negative, combining together, attraction and whatnot. So that's our first equation constructed. I hope you understand how we did that. So as you can see here, we have this, and it's the exact same as this. So now we're going to do the third one. We're going to do the same thing with the iodine. It's the exact same thing for each one. So now we're going to do our sulfuric acid. And as we should have memorized, we know the fact that we have sulfur being produced. So now we're going to balance out the oxygens by putting 4 waters on this side. And we're going to balance out the hydrogens because we have 8 over here and 2 over here by putting 6H plus. Now we're going to balance out the charge because we have a charge of 6 plus here and 0 over here by adding 6E minus to cancel out the charges. So there's 0 over here and 0 over here. However, before we combine these two equations like we did last time, what we want to do, we want to make this 2E minus the same as however many electrons there are here, or E minuses there are here. So we multiply everything in this equation by 3. You'll see why we do this in a second. So now let's combine our equations. And then we can see now the fact that we have 6 electrons on each side, which cancel out. Then we can combine these two like we did last time. So we get, by the way, I'm sorry if I'm not speaking while I'm writing this down, because I'm trying to focus to make sure I don't make any mistakes, so I don't have to record this video again. So that's our second reaction. You can look at it over here. It's the same thing as we had over here, but without you having to memorize it. Now let's do the third and final one. So same thing. We know that our third and final product is hydrogen sulfide. We're going to balance out the oxygens by putting a 4H2O here. We're going to balance out the hydrogens because we have 10 over here and 2 over here by adding 8H plus. Balance out the charge of plus 8 by adding 8E minus, so we have 0 over here and 0 over here. And then what we can do, we can't combine these equations just yet, remember. So we want to make this E minus, or the number of these E minuses, the same as this. So we multiply everything in this equation by 4. And now we can combine it. So now what we want to do, we want to cancel out the electrons. We want to combine these two. So we get so we have this as our final equation. And as you can see over here, we have the same thing. So that's pretty much it for today's video. It was a bit of a longer one today, so yeah. And just let me know what you want me to make a video about next time. And yeah, thank you so much for the support, guys.